Temple entry. Mark Temple now at the wheel.
1636 is the Jimco VW of Gary Cogbill and John Marking of San Diego. Having a tough time getting up this hill.
Yeah, this is a tough little section of the course over in the Arizona side. The 1037 vehicle of William Poe and Mark May of Agora, California.
They're in an ORE. Now, ORE stands for Off-Road Engineering. There seems to be one or two new chassis showing up every year now. Raceco, Chenoweth, ORE, Jimco, Meco, Sandwinder, just to name a few. And ironically, the one that we don't hear much of anymore is Funko. That was the original and one of the most popular of all time.
Oh, you can see a couple of the buggies going through there, one trying to get out of the way of the other. And 807 now, Dave Westham in the GMC that we last saw passing Walker Evans on the California side, but Dave's not running very strongly right now. We have a report that he may have lost a cylinder.
Now, here's 1607, Morley and Mike Williams, a couple of dapper guys.
Breathing right down Westham's backside, too. Here, look at this one. Oh, my gosh, Jerry. 812, the Ford of Thomas Kuhn and Paul Pulliam. From the looks of it, it looks like they may have hit a few cactus or maybe a brick wall.
Now, here's 200, defending unlimited two-seat class champion Corky Mcmillin. He and his son Scott and Mark have a big construction business down in San Diego, and they do a big job on that construction business down there, but they also do a pretty good job on their racing in their spare time. Mark is an unlimited single-seat defending champion, and their whole family is particularly noted for their Baja exploits. They win almost all the time down there.
Yeah, they seem to really do well in the longer races. Now, here's the 106 Toyota of Ivan Stewart. Now, he is enjoying a nice, clean run so far. Remember, we were talking about Ivan's more sideways than straight line? Well, watch him here. He just traverses the course. Boy, the RPMs are always high on that truck, aren't they?
Number 105, that's Bob Shepard of Tempe, Arizona, and he's driving a Selstead. There's another one of those new chassis powered by a Porsche engine.
And this is the 118 vehicle, the McDonald's Raceco VW of Frank Snook and Eric Harris of Riverside, California. And here's Walker Evans again. He is not having the best of days so far. When we saw him being passed by Westham earlier, we speculated that Walker might be having trouble. And our reports are that his Dodge Dakota is only running on 7 cylinders. But never count Walker Evans out of a situation because he is fantastic at driving a vehicle when it is hurting. Now, while we're talking about having strength to drive, Jerry Garrett had a chance to find out a little bit about what it takes to have some power steering to assist. Well, one driver who may not make it to the finish. Ivan Stewart, all of a sudden he is down, and maybe we jinxed him by mentioning that he was doing so well, but he is not running at all at the moment. He's got a lot of people crawling all around and under the front of the truck. It could be that something broke in the suspension or the steering. Maybe he'll be able to continue. We'll keep tabs on that situation for you. As we've got a chance right now, let's take a look at the standings here at the Parker 400. At the end of lap 2, Tom Koch has moved into the lead in Class 1. Gordon and Crabtree still in Class 2.
Well, there's Rod Hall out in front. The cream rises to the top in Class 4.
Checking in with Class 7, Larry Ragland, Frank Vessels in Class 8.
And there's the rest of the classes. Still no changes in that bunch, though.
Stay with us. We'll have more 400, but first, this. We're back at the Parker 400. Marty Reed along with Jerry Garrett, and the view you're looking at is from the air above the Arizona start-finish line, where a number of the leaders have gone through to begin their final laps, but there's still some drivers out there finishing on the first time around.
Now, this is number 101, Marty, the Jim Stiles Jim Greenway entry, and we showed them third leaving California, but scoring now has them second, just 1 minute behind Tom Koch.
Tom Koch is the man to beat. Now remember, everything's based on time. And here is Koch coming into view. He benefited from Ivan Stewart's misfortune to move up to the front at the end of lap number 2, the first time we went around at the Arizona side. No change in the overall standings, however. The leader is still Tim Crabtree. And it looks like, yes, this could be Crabtree coming into view. That's what our spotter says, and he's absolutely right. He has a 9-minute margin over the Martin brothers. And look at the way he is flying.
Well, nobody's going to catch him very easily unless he makes a mistake. Now in Class 8, Scoop Vessels has a 6-minute lead, but we understand that 801, that old hay burner of Robbie Gordon has finally done itself in. It's in the pits with a blown engine, out of the race.
Unfortunate for Robbie Gordon, but good news for Steve Mceachern, because the reports of Gordon's demise, if they're accurate, it means Mceachern's now running second.
Well, that ought to move up Walker Evans, too. 8-11 with Bruce Fraley riding shotgun, and despite the fact he's only running on 7 cylinders, we show that he's running in 4th place now, about a half an hour behind Scoop Vessels.
Did you see where he took a little side course there? He even faked out our cameraman for a second.
Okay, 1001 here. That's the OREVW of Steve Centuroni and Robert Jenkins.
Now, just in case you're not familiar with the classifications in off-road racing, we should probably point out that there are 5 buggy classes in all.
Now, the unlimited single-seaters and two-seaters, they're the fastest, and they can run almost any engine they choose, Porsches and so forth. But then there's the Class 1, 2, 1600 with vehicles for 1600cc motors, Class 10 for 1650cc power plants, and Challengers for smaller motors. The first digit or 2 digits in the vehicle numbers correspond to the class designation as well. For example, this entry is the 1001, 10 denoting the class, the 01, the starting position.
Well, right now we've got the 299 of the Chenoweth driven by Wayne Morgan and Arlen Roll as he struggles up through one of the tougher sections of the course. And 1037 is the William Poe Mark May entry that we looked at earlier in the day. Boy, that is a rustle. It looked like he almost hit something there. We're back up top with the helicopter now. Another look at Steve Mceachern, who's part of the large contingent of Arizona drivers who turn out for each race.
Now, if this performance is any indication, Steve may be about to come into his own as a driver. As we said before, he's always been fast there. He's passing one of the buggies and just mowing right by him. He hasn't finished very often, in part because he makes mistakes caused by his youthful exuberance and inexperience. But he's still looking for his first win, and it could happen right here.
You see, co-driver inside just gave a wave of the hand to the camera. You can tell when things are running well in these trucks because the co-driver usually has his eyes glued to all the gauges and also to the road out in front looking for potholes and big rocks, because obviously if you hit one of those big rocks, you could be knocked out of the race instantaneously. Now, Steve making a nice turn there and going right underneath our helicopter and back out into the fray. And it looks like it'd be awfully lonely out there if you broke down at this point. We're back again with Walker Evans in the Dodge Dakota. Parnelli Jones has said that Walker is maybe the best in the business at getting to the finish line with sick equipment, and Evans is proving it today. He still has an outside chance at a win, even if he is running on 7 cylinders.
Now, here's that Centurioni and Jenkins Class 10 entry again. And coming up, yep, there's 1013, another father and son duo, Dave and Bryant Wood from 29 Palms, California.
The 215 is a familiar vehicle to off-road racing fans in the Desert Series. That's Danny Lentner and Henry Bergdahl in the Raceco Porsche. And listen to this baby fly on by. 121 is the Class 1 entry of Russ and Kevin Derby. They live right here in Parker. I'm sure they'd like to turn in a strong performance here.
Whoa, talk about dramatic entrances. The car that just came flying into our camera range is 546, the Baja Bug of George Seeley Jr. and Howard Anderson. Now we know why they're in such a hurry. They're just trying to get out of the way of faster traffic. Whoa.
Look at how quickly the Class 2 car covers up on the Bug. Back up with Rod Hall, sort of like Old Man River. He just keeps rolling along in that Dodge, and after replacing that Spider gear during his 2-hour layover, he's come back to take the lead in Class 4 because early leader Jerry McDonald has been halted, at least temporarily, by transmission woes. Now, it looks like Rod's getting ready to overtake one of the slower vehicles here. We'll keep an eye on him to see if he can make the maneuver to go around him. As he, he's going to take a quick change of course, and ooh, you wonder sometimes where he gets his instinct, because that looked like it'd be a bad move, but Rod Hall pays off again. Stay with us. We'll have more of the Parker 400 right after this. Marty Reed and Jerry Garrett with you at the Parker 400, and one of our leaders, it looks like, yes, it's the Gordon and Crabtree car, off course, Jerry.
Well, Tim's getting back on course and underway, but that was definitely an unscheduled stop. Yeah, he appears to be okay, but that bobble has cost him some time. He's now behind the Martin brothers for the overall.
In fact, we have got a report that he reported into his crew that he got lost off course. So we'll have to try and verify that one, but that would be a little embarrassing to say the least, and also very costly if it proves to hold up, that they would lose this race over a mistake like that and then trying to catch up. Maybe that's what happened. He was trying to catch up so hard he drove it off the course into that dust right there. Well, anyway, we'll keep you posted on that. This is the 559, the Baja Bug entry of Robert Whited and Carl Haynes of Raleigh, California. We show them as the leaders in the class. And Walker Evans still hanging on, a little wave as he goes by, and our reports indicate he could possibly be in second place now because Steve Kelly is down on the course somewhere with a broken rear end, and Scoop Vessels had to make a long pit stop.
There's 1667 going down the hill. That's Tim Ryan. And 201, that's Ed and Tim Herbst. They were first off the line, and they were the leaders early on, but they've fallen back now a couple of spots, and they're out of contention, I think. And here comes a Class 8 vehicle. Yep, that's Dave Westham. From the sound of the engine of that GMC, just finishing this race is going to be a major accomplishment.
And the word is now that Steve Mceachern has moved into the lead in Class 8 ahead of Scoop Vessels. And boy, you're right, he is having a tough time, Jerry, trying to get up into the hilly section there and up over the crest. But he does make it. We're getting in the late stages of the race. This is the 859 GMC. Mike Voiles at the wheel. And look at how the sun is starting to set as well.
That's tough on the drivers going up these hills because not only can't they see what's coming up over this pass, they can't see out of the windshield at all.
Yeah, that sun is glaring right into their faces at that point.
Now, 1608, that's the Raceco VW of John Alabaster and Patrick Shea, and they hail from Laguna Beach, California, where they're used to a completely different kind of sand.
Boy, I'll tell you, they almost left it all right there. Look at the replay. 1604, Larry Smith, John Kennedy, they're out of Temple City, California. Maybe the Temple should move there and they could say they own the town.
Whoa, that's a bad bump. Hey, Tim Crabtree seems to have gathered himself back up here, and he has the Chenoweth going under full power again. We're still not sure how much time he lost, but I think that little bobble was a critical amount of time for them.
Well, it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens as we get closer and closer to the finish of this race. Crabtree trying to find the finish line before the Martin brothers or Jim Temple. This is Jeff McPherson in four-wheel drive mini truck competition, a 4-minute lead over the Dave Simon and Jack Johnson vehicles.
Now behind him right now, but I think he's several positions down. Our scoring shows 737 is the Ford Ranger of Ted Johnson and Walter Adney in the stock mini truck class.
Well, we're getting reports that the leaders are coming into the finish line area, and we should be waiting for a checkered flag momentarily. And yes, here we are coming into view of our cameras. It's the Martin brothers, Tom and Steve. They're the first finishers of the day, but because of differences in starting times, now we'll have to wait and see if they in fact are the winners. Tom Martin sure seems to think so. Let's go down to Jerry Garrett with Tom Martin.
Yeah!
Boy, the celebration really going. Jerry's having a little trouble getting his way in there. Jerry, fight your way in there and see if you can get a word in edgewise with Tom Martin.
Jay, when'd you pass and get in front?
I'm sorry I didn't hear you.
When did you get in front?
Truthfully, I didn't think I was. I thought Gordon was ahead of me all the way to the end here. I thought I was chasing his dust the whole way. That's why I pushed it, I guess, a little harder than I should have, huh?
What was your strategy in this race? Would you figure that Gordon would be the guy that you'd be chasing most of the day?
No, not really. Strategy, just go fast. I mean, no certain strategy. Keep the car together and go fast when we could. Stay ahead of those six-cylinder Porsches.
Well, the checkered flag has fallen for Tim Crabtree in 211, and that's Bob Gordon there in the red race jacket watching him finish and waiting to see the final standings. Crabtree seems to be asking for an explanation or something. Meanwhile, Jim Temple has finished, and Jerry Garrett has moved over to talk to Jim.
Checking the times, do you think you won?
Yes, I do. But Martin comes over and tells me I lost, so he doesn't make me feel any better. But it's very close. But talking with the pit guys, they feel like we've got it. And, of course, Martin feels like he's got it, and I sure hope we have it.
Well, Tim Crabtree's wondering if he has it. He looks a little bit fuddled and still confused. Now, Jerry Garrett is making his way to Tim. Let's go to Jerry.
What happened out there?
I don't know. We were running down the wash, and all the way to the right, there's markings, ribbons, the whole works. I didn't go that way pre-run. And all of a sudden, I get down to the end, and this aqueduct is dead end. I stopped and I turned the motor off and I listened, see if I can see somebody. I followed the ribbons all the way back and finally run back into the course and turn around.
That was the difference, though, I guess.
Oh, yeah. And then you're behind and all there's is dust.
Disappointed Tim Crabtree, and for a lot of these competitors, a major portion of this race will take place after dark, but there's one man that won't mind, Steve Mceachern. He's on his way to victory in Class 8. All he has to do is bring it home, and Larry Ragland on his way to a win as well. Roger Mears retired on oil pump failure. Stay with us. We'll be back to sort out the final standings. First this. The Parker 400, where the sun is setting on the western Arizona skyline, and oh, what a beautiful sight. And time enough to check the final results and look at Class 2. Bob Gordon and Tim Crabtree win after all, Jerry.
Well, what happened, Marty, to the Martins and Temples was that they were each penalized 15 minutes for missing mandatory stops out on the course, and that dropped them to 5th and 6th overall.
Tom Koch wins in Class 1, while in Class 4, perennial favorite Rod Hall.
Rod Hall wins for a record 10th time here.
In Class 7, Larry Ragland does pick up his first win.
First time in the desert in a truck, many times in a buggy.
And 7 4x4, Dave Simon. In Class 8, Steve Mceachern.
The new Chevy wins its first race.
And there's our other class winners as today's Parker 400s goes into the books. Our race today was brought to you by BF Goodrich TAs and the new all-weather comp TA. Goodrich TAs, we make your car perform. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. It always has, always will. And by Budweiser, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. Thanks to Unit N Radio, Larry Ray, Spirit Racing, and Jim Short for technical assistance. And also thanks to Jerry Garrett for joining us today. I'm Marty Reed. So long, everybody. We'll see you at the Gold Coast 300 in Las Vegas.